Do you have a suggestion for a Rockstar Impact Podcast guest? Go to impactpodcast.com and just click Be a Guest to recommend someone today. This edition of the Impact Podcast is brought to you by ERI. ERI has a mission to protect people, the planet, and your privacy, and is the largest fully integrated IT and electronics asset disposition provider and cybersecurity-focused hardware destruction company in the United States, and maybe even the world. For more information on how ERI can help your business properly dispose of outdated electronic hardware devices, please visit eridirect.com. This episode of the Impact Podcast is brought to you by Closed Loop Partners. Closed Loop Partners is a leading circular economy investor in the United States with an extensive network of Fortune 500 corporate investors, family offices, institutional investors, industry experts, and impact partners. Closed Loop's platform spans the arc of capital from venture capital to private equity, bridging gaps and fostering synergies to scale the circular economy. To find Closed Loop Partners, please go to www.closedlooppartners.com. Welcome to another edition of the Impact Podcast. I'm John Shigarian, and we're so honored to have with us today Zay Harding. Welcome to the Impact Podcast, Zay.
Woohoo! Thank you, John. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
And, Zay, you're the host of The Visioneers with Zay Harding. We're going to get into that in a little bit, but first I want to hear about your background. Before The Visioneers, where did you grow up, and how did you get on this fascinating journey that you're on?
Well, I was born and raised in Hawaii and on Kauai. And then when I was 8, we moved to Oahu, where I went to Punahou School. And this was monumental. And I had no idea how it was going to be affecting my life or impacting my life. But there was somebody that I was a Boy Scout, and someone in our troop ended up being my brother's best friend. And he is the one who eventually, we were surfing one day, and he started a foundation later in his life. He did really well creating algorithms for stocks and predicting things that would do well. And he took all his money and decided to put it into helping the planet. And so he started a Bolo Foundation with his wife, and they wanted to raise awareness of what was going on in the environment. And I was out surfing with him, and I knew he was working on that for 10 years. And not getting the attention that he wanted. And so I said, look, I've been doing a travel show for 20 years. Why don't we merge forces and use my travel show with purpose? So like target people, seek out people doing amazing things for the planet, and also showcase where they are in the globe. And the travel show really affected me because it opened my eyes to see that there are a lot of things that are changing in our atmosphere. Storms are getting stronger, more sea levels are rising and warming. Fishermen are complaining that the fish are more and more scarce. Corals are dying. So ice caps are melting. Like I experienced that in Antarctica when I was down there filming. So this guy, David Vogel, and I were surfing, and I pitched this idea to him, and he was like, absolutely, let's go. So we shot a pilot with the same team that we filmed this travel show, Globe Trekker. And we pitched that to Hearst Media Production Group because they're into educational informational programming, and they loved it. And they have contacts with all the major networks. So we picked CBS, and we're super excited to live there every Saturday morning now. This show literally goes around and meets the people behind these amazing initiatives that are trying to make this world a better place.
That's so awesome. I'm gonna come back to that in a second. So it's on every week. It's on CBS, and you can check your local listings on Saturday mornings to see where it is, so you can find The Visioneers with Zay Harding. Also, it's on CBS.com. It will reside on CBS.com.
Yeah.
Zay, let's go back.
And Pluto TV. Yep.
And Pluto. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about a couple things.
Yeah.
Besides David, who was, like you said, you credited with being a great inspiration and help to get this launch. Just growing up in Hawaii itself had to give you an innate genetic DNA of love and appreciation for this beautiful, wonderful environment that we all get to share and live in.
I could not have said that better myself, John. That it absolutely lives within me, that how beautiful Hawaii is, and together, that's one of the things David and I said. We're out surfing, enjoying the planet, wanting our kids to be able to enjoy it, and knowing all the things we're doing are affecting it in a bad way. Whereas if we make changes, we can affect it in a good way. So yeah, the beauty in Hawaii, going camping all the time there, running on the beaches, surfing in the seas. I mean, it is a big part of who I am and always will be. And I'm constantly comparing places I go to Hawaii and realizing that I did grow up in one of the most beautiful places in the world.
Especially, I got to be honest with you. You mentioned Kauai you were born on. I mean, Kauai is by far my favorite island. It is so beautiful. It just reminds me what a great world we live in every time I'm there. So what a nice thing to have a chance to grow up there and to grow up, like you say, running on the beach, surfing. I mean, what a paradise of environment. So the show is picked up by Hearst. You get on, you choose CBS. Just talk a little bit about what you expected that happened, but also what you didn't expect that's evolved since you launched the show.
Well, I was hoping to on PBS, where we had been doing the Globe Trekker show, and which was always a great place to live. But in my eyes, CBS is way bigger. And so this is incredible to become a household name, to be able to cater to kids. Like, our show is ultimately catered to kids. I remember growing up, the only time we could watch TV was on weekends. And so my brothers and I got up early and we turned on the TV and watched cartoons. And eventually the government decided, okay, this is when kids watch TV. We need to regulate this time space and make sure that networks are catering to kids. And so that's how the educational informational time blocks came about, and Hearst owns those time spaces. So we're aware of our influence that we have on kids, and that excites me because I've got a 9-year-old daughter, and she loves this show. And so that to me is motivation and proof that what we're doing is actually in the right space. And life's about timing, and this is the best time to actually have a child in that space of who we're catering to. So I get to throw in dad jokes, which is really fun. And, my daughter says, what's the difference between a dad joke and a bad joke? Nothing. But ultimately, she repeats those jokes to me, and I'm like, oh, this is great. Okay, that was a winner.
Right. That couldn't be better. That was awesome. So how does it work? Like, in terms of the Visioneers that you choose, talk a little bit about the process of choosing the Visioneers that you're going to highlight, and give us a couple of examples from your first season, some of your favorite Visioneers and episodes that you filmed and aired at the first season.
Okay, yeah. So how we get these, obviously this was like, we had 10 stories in our pilot that we just wanted to show a range of what we could do. And we do sprinkle those throughout the show as well. But the style was very different. So we're completely re-editing voiceover because we were aiming towards PBS. It was a more, scientific show, whereas now it's a more fun, entertaining show.
Right.
So, energy is huge in our pieces because they're quick clips. They're basically 5 to 7 minute pieces now, and they're evergreen. So like each story lives within its own segment, and at the end we do a tiny segment called Visions of the Future. So we ask each visioneer, what's your vision of the future? So it's inspiring, leaves people with something to think about. But within that little block, that's what you're watching. How we pick them, there's a team of researchers, and including myself, and I got one of the guys that we worked on the pilot with, Ian Shagaluga. I've worked with him for 20 years on Globe Trekker. He's a great researcher and knows how to tell a good story. So we put together what we thought. We pitched it to the producers at Hearst, and they've got a team. There were a lot of heads that were like pulling stories, finding what we could, and then that team digs deeper and researches who's available, who's actually going to be ready to talk about it, who's available during our shoot schedule. So there are a lot of factors, and they've done an incredible job of lining stuff up. A lot of it didn't make it to season 1, and we were hoping for a season 2. So season 2 was a lot easier to kick off because we had a whole list of stuff we wanted to that wasn't available already. And then we had that to start with. And then obviously as time goes on, new things pop up, and then people who saw the show started referring us groups that had a lot of initiatives going on. We just did one in Zurich, ETH, which is like the MIT of Switzerland, and there were some incredible stories that each student is coming up with their own initiatives. But season 1, we had some of the most impactful. There was a kid, he's 12, and when he was 5, he started thinking about this and putting together, and he actually had these diagrams that he first drew. His friend's house got blown away in a tornado, and so he wanted to come up with a quicker way to warn people of tornadoes. And he and his dad worked on a sensor that he eventually built with a 3D printer to house it and put it up on a drone and sends it up towards storms. And it senses this infrasound that is only tornadoes have. It's such a low frequency. And that is he's now working with the National Weather Service, but that beats the Doppler system by 30 minutes. So now we have 43 minutes of warning instead of 13 minutes, which is incredible. And he's 12 years old, and they developed this app together with his dad. That was one impactful story. It just proves you don't have to be a certain age. You just have to care. There's a lot of kids we feature on our show for that very reason. We realize that the kids watching are connecting with these kids on TV. And our goal is to get people to be, to see someone that they want to be when they grow up, and realize that I don't have to wait to grow up. I can start now. So it's really motivating and inspiring. There's a place in Copenhagen called Copenhill, which they did a national search, a design how a waste to energy project, because they knew it doesn't sound pretty, and it ultimately it's not. But if they could disguise it into something fun, then and they knew they could make it clean on the outside, no one would really know what was going on inside. But what was going on inside was every day hundreds of trucks are driving 200 miles every which way around Copenhagen and grabbing the trash from landfills and bringing it back and dumping it into a giant inferno that was burning this trash into energy. So this energy gives the entire city its electricity. And they figured out a way to carbon capture as well, so that all that's released is steam, water vapor. And what this designer did, who won the competition, is he created a shell for this thing that looks like a mountain and allows people to ski down and also rock climb up. So they've made an amusement park out of something that would have been horrible. And now the real estate around that is selling for more than in the city, because they're so close to this, and people utilize this activity space. Yeah. It doesn't stink. It doesn't look bad. It's just a fun place on the outside, and on the inside, all of this, waste to electricity is going on.
Personally speaking, Zay, this must be such a wonderful way to make a living for you, in that you get to not only be one of the greatest ambassadors and evangelists of these wonderful scientists, inventors and visionaries, but then you yourself your cup of hope must get filled up daily when you're meeting all these great people and able to share these stories. I mean, it must be just so rewarding personally.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is something I marvel on every single day. I'm super, super grateful. Hands-on learning is the best way to learn, and to be sent around the world, meeting these incredible people who want to give you the time. They want you to understand. I don't have to be an expert on any of this stuff. My job is to make sure the audience is following along. So if I don't understand, it's actually better. And I get to ask the questions to help me understand. Right. And so it is absolutely exciting, inspiring. It's eye-opening. It's gotten me to think differently. I'm starting to realize I can connect some of these people. So this is becoming a great resource for for the entire planet. I've already put some of the people together to collaborate on certain projects, which is really exciting. But my whole crew is in a happy place. And the producer from Volo was like, well, I want to keep the same team. So as much as possible, you guys are feeding off each other's energy of positivity. And it's just such a fun place and rewarding place to be around you guys. But we're all fulfilled because we're getting to meet such positive people and seeing such exciting changes going on.
For our listeners and viewers who just joined us, we've got Zay Harding with us today. He's the host of CBS's The Visioneers with Zay Harding. You can find it every Saturday morning on CBS. Just check your local listings to find out what time it's playing on your own television in your home. If you can't find it there, please find it on CBS.com or on Pluto TV. Zay, talk a little bit about what our listeners and viewers can expect from season 2. How many shows will you tape? How many will air? And how many episodes do you have coming up in season 2?
So season 1 was technically a half season because when we pitched this, they had half their season left and they wanted to jump right in it. So it was a go situation. Wow. And then season 2 was almost the same thing, but this time we had to go with double the episodes. So there were 13 episodes of the first season, the half season, and now there's 26. So we are having a great time. We're nearing the end of our season, but we've been going strong since July, and it's now we're going through December 18th. Oh. So yeah, the what to expect. I mean, gosh, we spent 3 months in the U.S. going around showcasing incredible people. And then we went to Portugal, Germany, Switzerland, Kenya. Now we're in the UK. Wow. One of the fun projects that stands out in my mind. Well, actually, the very first one we went to was amazing in New Jersey. There's a girl at Celia Energy, and they are going around to companies and asking for all their excess plastic stuff that they would just normally be throwing out. And they have figured out a way to break it down and then by its elements, split them so that they're in hydrogen and then carbon. And they're using the hydrogen gas to refuel this. It's a machine they have which converts it. And in fact, they're working with NASA. NASA heard about it and asked them to create one of these reactor machines inside the spaceship so that all the astronauts can take their excess plastic, put it in this machine, and end up with building materials for space. Instead of shipping stuff up, they're actually creating their own repurposing, which is incredible. That's one that stands out. Another one is these kids from college decided to they're living in Louisiana, right? So New Orleans, it's known for a lot of their shores are washing away. Their protection for their land, they don't have it anymore because the hurricanes are washing it away. So they thought we need to make more sand, right? To grow more trees. Cypress trees are what used to be there, but they're not able to because there's no more sand. So it's just these marshlands are turning to just water, and then storm surges are becoming a real problem for them. So they were looking at glass, thinking, well, glass comes from sand. Why can't we put it back to sand? And so they just started crushing it up and pulverizing it into sand-size glass. And it turns out that the plants will grow in that. So they started building these little fences in the bayou and filling them with this sand, this glass sand. And then they're replanting the cypress trees, and it's incredible. They're really creating a new front to protect them, and it would just be going to landfills or recycled.
So a common theme I keep hearing about these wonderful stories and visioneers that you get to share with your viewers is that people now, these really smart people, are taking materials that were historically becoming part of the waste stream and going into traditional waste areas such as landfills, and they're getting all this material back into the circular economy, as you pointed out in Copenhagen, as you pointed out in New Jersey, as you pointed out in the Bayou. So the circular economy, this shift from the go and throw society and from the legacy society that we all grew up in is now shifting to the circular economy. And these are the people, these visioneers are the ones emerging that are helping thrust us into that circular economy, and not too soon enough. So this is wonderful. This is just wonderful what you're covering.
Yeah, I mean, this is a common theme. You're right, and it's exciting because landfill is a problem. We've got plastics that are dissolving into microplastics, which end up in our soil, which drifts down to the ocean throughout, scattered in the water, and the fish eat it, and then we eat the fish, so we get it into our brains. And it's, we're all walking around with microplastics in our brains, which is a real problem. So we want to clean up our landfills for one, and a lot of these initiatives that reuse stuff from the landfills is fantastic. And the other thing is that when we don't have to create new plastic or anything to make these materials, then we're actually saving ourselves as well. So we're fixing a problem and creating a new solution. So there's a kid who started Recycle My Battery, and he's now got thousands of volunteers around the US that are helping him, just set up boxes and collect them and then put tape on either end of the battery and then shipping them back. They're able to reuse the insides of these batteries instead of mining more, instead of destructing our earth more to get more materials, which we already have, which we're just throwing away. We can reuse the insides. And then there's a guy in Lamu, Kenya that we just spoke with. He's a master shipbuilder, the 8th generation of master shipbuilders. And instead of having to chop down all these trees, he kept, in his lifetime, he's an older guy now, he's watched bottles just build collections of water bottles, collect in the oceans that aren't even from Kenya. And so he thought, well, how can we use this? So there were flip-flops as well, slippers. And he took the flip-flops and padded, but he built, using the traditional style of dhow boats, he built an entire boat of repurposed plastic. He melted them into little pieces that look like wood, and he worked just like he would as if it's wood, but he's using recycled plastic. And then he used all the flip-flops to put along the top to make cushions. It's very colorful. It's beautiful. It floats. I rode on it. It's smoother than a normal boat. And it's really exciting because now the plastic problem is cleaned up from his beach, and he didn't even need to cut down a single tree. So, and he's able to, do his carvings in it as he would traditional. I mean, it is a recurring theme, but it's an exciting theme. There's another guy in California this was in season 1, called Plastic Beach. And he's taking all the wrappings. You don't even think about this stuff, but every time you go to a store, on a delivery, each little piece is individually wrapped because they want to keep it pristine and able to sell. So the stores take off this plastic, and what do they do with it? They just throw it away. But this is soft plastic. And what I learned is that the soft plastic gets caught in the recycle machine, so nobody likes it. But he figured out, if I can collect all this from all the different stores, it's not a huge drive for him to just go around all the stores. So he actually gives them each a little container, and they're happy to contribute. He picks those up once a week, and then he compresses them into these big blocks, and those blocks are able to be recycled. And he's been repurposing them into asphalt for roads, and also those hard deck materials. So it's incredible that they're able to make this stuff out of stuff that would otherwise be problematic.
Jay, how many stories you cover per episode approximately?
There are about 3 to 4. Some of them are too good to just leave as a one act. So we make 2 segments out of them, but each segment's about 5 to 7 minutes. So, it varies on time, but we try to get enough time to tell the whole story. But it's a very fast paced show, and the editors do an incredible job of using graphics and making sure everyone understands it visually. And then, I go back and do the voiceover and keep it fun. And when they add music, it's very emotional and inspiring. But yeah, you end up seeing about 3 to 4 different amazing things.
That means there's so let's just take
each episode.
So 3 times 26, at least 65 different Visioneers you're covering this season, at least. So that's amazing. So talk a little bit about the.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the two
Yeah.
different types of Visioneers. I'm sure there's some Visioneers that when you show up are already local heroes in their community, and others are these sort of lone rangers operating in obscurity. What happens after you do your show with them? The local hero, I'm sure that expands his reach or her reach. But how about the one that no one ever had heard about before, and then all of a sudden you get to do a show on them? Talk a little bit about what you hear about the aftermath after their shows air.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really hear the aftermath as much as we should. I mean, I always think a fun thing to do would be to go back and follow up on these things. When especially when they're projects that are talking about like in Norway, we featured the first. It was a hybrid cruise, and so they were working on the first completely electric cruise, which won't be ready for 2 more years. I think that would be fun to follow up on. We've got, I mean, there are some we're going up on. I don't actually know what the after effect is, but I'm sure they're going to get attention after being on CBS. But as far as the different types of Visioneers, I think that there's that moment that they all are grateful. You can tell that finally someone's giving them accolades, because this is such an individual thing. You come up with this idea. I mean, for a long time, everyone was, including this show. I had thought of something green, and people were always like, nah, no one's interested. And it's like, okay, well, it always sat in the back of my mind, but I thought, well, let me try a little harder and let me get the right team together. And this is an amazing team. I couldn't have asked for a better one. Everything lined up this time around. So because, doing the show, the Globe Trekker show, I could see it going on. And I thought, well, maybe it's time to address it. But everyone's like, no, it's a downer subject. But by focusing on the positive, it doesn't have to be down. In fact, it's very exciting. And this is one of those shows that can go on and on and on, because everyone is trying within their own world. And like one guy that's popped into my mind right now, he was a musician in Guster. And his wife pointed out, you're doing concerts all the time. You get annoyed that you're walking through a sea of water bottles at the end of each concert. Why don't you do something about it? And he's like, what am I supposed to do? And she said, well, you could ban people coming in with water bottles and make them bring in a reusable, refillable bottle. And he said, oh, that's a good idea. So they started Reverb, and that grew, and now they're doing completely sustainable venues. Like, even if they're pop-up, they're bringing their own solar power generators. They've got that whole thing with the water bottle. They're involving local farmers to sell their produce there. Their foods are all coming locally. And they're getting a lot of big names. Billie Eilish is on board, Coldplay, Jack Johnson, Reba McEntire. So it all starts with just, what can I do in my own life? You've got a lot of cooks, you've got athletes. We all can do something. And so when we're featuring these people, it's like, you see it in their eyes. You're like, thank you. Finally, someone's giving me accolades for doing this. But in each case, they really are Visioneers. They're pioneers, they're engineers, they're visionary, and they're making it happen. And even if we didn't give them that credit, they are doing it. And so it's nice to be able to shine some light on it, and at the same time inspire other people, including myself.
What a hopeful message. But like you said, you have your own 9-year-old daughter, and if she's getting excited about the show, there's a whole generation that she lives in that is getting excited as well. I have grandchildren. I'm going to turn them on to the show because they need to see this. They need to the hope that you're evangelizing and you're sharing, because honestly, Zay, unfortunately, the rest of the media doesn't really share that big of a message of hope anymore.
Yeah. And that just gives me excitement, because I think, well, then it makes our show more unique, and there's a reason it needs to be here.
So, Zay, where do you live now, if you don't mind me asking?
So I'm from Hawaii. I went to college in Texas.
Okay.
I lived in LA for 20 years, and now I'm in London. Yeah, my brother lives there. My wife always wanted to live there. The producing team from Globe Trekker was there. So it made sense to shoot the pilot there. And as we're there, we're having a good time. My daughter loves the education system there. So it's up in the air, you know. I like to travel, I like adventure, and what I'm doing doesn't require me to be any particular place. We still have our place in Los Angeles as well. So it's nice to be able to go back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But
how do you make
what
this
you
happen?
said about the kids is so true.
Yeah.
How do we make it happen?
Because you said July through December. I just want to understand. So are you traveling?
Wait, I just want to address one.
How many days of a month are you on the road doing this great show? That's what I'm trying to get to.
Gotcha. Well, it takes a supportive family, that's for sure. I mean, all of us on the crew, most of us are married, and we're a family of our own, and we have a supportive other half at our other homes.
Right.
But yeah, we're on the road a lot. We did have a couple breaks of a week, maybe 3 little breaks of a week in between. But we celebrated Thanksgiving in Kenya. We had a giant turkey. We had our own Thanksgiving out.
Oh, great.
And luckily we'll be back for Christmas. So, but yeah, we have supportive families, and right now being back in the UK, I got to see my daughter and my wife last night, and that was really rewarding and rejuvenating, because my daughter is like, you know, she's excited for the show. She watches a lot of YouTube. And so she's like, hey, you guys are even on YouTube now. I'm like, yeah, well, to her, that matters. Whatever matters to you, you know. But more importantly, we're making a show, and it's an award-winning show, which is really exciting. But the kids are the future, and it is really exciting to see them so involved. They're more inspiring than anybody. And when I'm talking to the adults, I realize that these ideas came to them when they were kids, or they were inspired by when they were kids. There's one guy at UCLA, he's a professor there, and he's started this whole project, which is really exciting. He grew up in Goa, India, and he loved looking at shells with his dad, picking them up, collecting them. But he studied them, and he wanted to know, how were these made? And he realized that it's all the elements in water, already in the water, that are coming together and forming these shells. And basically it's limestone that are making these. And so he wanted to know what makes those. And so he has figured out, just by taking ocean water, he can recreate these bits of almost like sand, but it's what a shell would be made of. And the neat thing about a shell is it captures carbon. So the ocean is like a sponge for CO2. So that helps our environment. And by pulling out the carbon from the ocean, it's able to catch more. And so how he's pulling it out is he's adding negative charge to the ocean water, and it's speeding up the process to create these calcium shells that are limestone, and it's capturing the carbon, so it's not able to be released back into the air. It's pulling it out of our waters, which is pulling it out of our air. So, but that all started when he was a kid. So now he has the knowledge how to do it. It's these kind of things. They always talk about when they're kids or for their kids. So it's really, really important to recognize that the kids are the future. This is their world. And they are the ones right now who are demanding that we start changing our ways. I grew up, things were the way they were, and you just accept that. Oh, okay. Right. But now it's like, no, we don't have to create more plastic. We have so much. Let's just reuse it. You know, single-use plastic is not fantastic. My brother's daughter taught me that. She did that for a project, and that goes through my head all the time. And I'm thinking of throwing something out that is made of plastic. And plastic is good in the sense that it won't leak, but it's, you know, it was designed to never break down. And so that's the problem. Let's use it as much as possible. And so that goes through my mind. Can I reuse it or not? And if I can, I will, and try to steer clear of it. But if I have to, I'm not just going to use it once.
Let's give a little promotion and shout out to your benefactor, the Volo Foundation. What's the mission of the Volo Foundation?
Yeah. Volo Foundation exists to raise awareness of climate issues, and lately their purpose is finding solutions. They want more solutions. So this show is perfect. It's drawing attention to them, and they're at volofoundation.org. 2 amazing people run that, and actually their team is all hand selected. It's a tight group, and I'm happy to be supported by them. It's very enjoyable to have it's a family run place. So they're very hands-on, accessible. We talk about all the time. Their kids watch the show every weekend, which just, gives my heart delight. And it's really nice. It feels like we're helping each other,
I'll put we'll put that link in our show notes. And so that way our listeners and viewers can find the foundation, Zay, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show today. I want our listeners and viewers, please watch every week on Saturday mornings on CBS, The Visioneers with Zay Harding. If you can't find it, just go to your local listings. You'll find it there. It's every week on Saturday mornings, the Visioneers with Zay Harding. If you can't find it there, we'll put in the show notes the link to CBS.com, Pluto TV. Also, you can find Zay Harding at Zay Harding1 on Instagram or Visioneers TV on Instagram. It will all be in the show notes. Zay, not only thank you for almost an hour of your time today, but most important, thank you for making the world a better place.
John, thank you for having me. Thanks for doing this show. I love the title, Impact. You are having an impact by featuring shows like ours, as well as other people who are happy to make this world a better place. We all live in it, so let's make it the best we can.
This edition of the Impact Podcast is brought to you by Engage. Engage is a digital booking platform revolutionizing the talent booking industry. With thousands of athletes, celebrities, entrepreneurs, and business leaders, Engage is the go-to spot for booking talent, for speeches, custom experiences, live streams, and much more. For more information on Engage or to book talent today, visit letsengage.com. This edition of the Impact Podcast is brought to you by ERI. ERI has a mission to protect people, the planet, and your privacy, and is the largest fully integrated IT and electronics asset disposition provider and cybersecurity-focused hardware destruction company in the United States, and maybe even the world. For more information on how ERI can help your business properly dispose of outdated electronic hardware devices, please visit eridirect.com.